Imagine waking up and feeling as if the whole world has faded to monochrome, as if each movement requires monumental effort, as if even breathing is a task too burdensome to bear. Have you ever experienced this sensation, observing your own life from a remove, disconnected and disengaged? Depression is far more than just transient sadness. It surpasses mere lack of motivation or a fleeting bad day. It's an insidious emptiness, a corrosive inner void, a form of emotional anesthesia where everything loses its luster. Once pleasurable activities now seem hollow and insignificant. Simple tasks like showering or responding to messages become monumental, insurmountable obstacles. It's as though a dense, impenetrable fog envelops everything, obscuring even the faintest glimmer of a brighter future. But perhaps the most excruciating aspect is the pervasive feeling of being misunderstood, the observation that those around you continue their lives seemingly unaffected, as though simply thinking positive or trying harder were a panacea. You have tried, haven't you? You've exerted every ounce of your being to escape this abyss, yet deep down, a sense of failure gnaws at your core, whispering that you are somehow inherently flawed. But here's a profound truth that demands recognition. The problem is not you. Depression is a tangible, verifiable reality. It is not born of laziness, nor does it stem from weakness or a lack of willpower. Its roots run deep, often entwined with complex factors beyond your conscious control. Understanding this fundamental truth can be the crucial first step toward escaping the darkness, toward reclaiming your life. Yes, there is a path out. In this exploration, we will delve into the multifaceted nature of depression with a depth and clarity that you may not have encountered before. We will transcend superficial explanations and explore the intricate mechanisms at play within your mind. We will examine both the scientific discoveries that shed light on its biological underpinnings and the societal narratives that often perpetuate misunderstanding and stigma. Above all, I want you to know with unwavering certainty, you are not alone in this struggle. If these words resonate within you, if they stir something within your soul, stay with me. Perhaps, just perhaps, this is the genesis of transformative change. Most individuals struggle to comprehend the true depth and complexity of depression. They often mistakenly equate it with simple sadness, temporary discouragement, or even mere laziness. However, if you have personally battled this insidious condition, you know that it transcends these simplistic characterizations. Depression is not a fleeting emotion. Rather, it is a profound and debilitating state of mental, physical, and emotional exhaustion. It feels as though your very mind has transformed into an intricate, inescapable maze, where every thought carries the weight of 1,000 burdens, and every attempt to act feels futile. Imagine perpetually carrying an invisible weight, a constant drain on your energy that saps your vitality even before you rise from bed. Activities that once brought you joy, listening to music, reading, socializing with friends, now feel hollow and devoid of meaning. And the most isolating aspect is the inability to articulate these feelings adequately to others. How can you convey the sensation of an oppressive weight on your chest when there is no discernible cause? How do you explain the profound sense of loneliness that pervades your being, even when surrounded by loved ones? Sigmund Freud, a towering figure in the field of psychology, conceptualized depression as a form of displaced mourning, He posited that individuals experiencing depression are, on some level, mourning a loss, which may not necessarily be a tangible one, but rather an emotional void. This loss could manifest as the unfulfilled demise of a cherished dream, the fading image of a former self, or the erosion of one's sense of identity. Conversely, Carl Jung viewed depression as a catalyst for profound personal transformation. He believed that when the mind plunges into such a deep state of discouragement, it may be signaling an urgent need for inner change. Modern science has offered crucial insights as well. Research has demonstrated that depression profoundly impacts brain chemistry, leading to a reduction in the production of essential neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, which are intrinsically linked to feelings of pleasure and well-being. This signifies that, on a biological level, the depressed brain functions differently. It is not a matter of lacking willpower, nor is it something that can be overcome through sheer determination overnight. And here we encounter one of the most insidious and pervasive aspects of depression: guilt. Have you noticed how it cunningly convinces you that you bear sole responsibility for your suffering, that your condition is a consequence of personal failings, a testament to insufficient effort? This insidious voice is not only untrue, but also a self-perpetuating cycle. Depression is an illness, a genuine medical condition, not a personal failing or a deliberate choice. The more deeply you grasp this fundamental truth, the more readily you can recognize that the accusatory internal voice is not an authentic representation of yourself, but rather a symptom of the illness itself. If depression is such a debilitating force, why does it appear to be increasingly prevalent in the modern world? Why do so many individuals, even those who seemingly possess all the trappings of success and happiness, feel empty and unfulfilled within? The answer may lie within the very fabric of our environment, within a society that relentlessly propels us into an unending cycle of pressure, comparison, and disconnection. And this is precisely what we will examine in the following segment. Have you ever paused to consider why depression seems to be on the rise, despite the unprecedented levels of comfort and convenience that characterize modern life? We theoretically inhabit an era of unparalleled comfort. We have access to advanced technology, boundless entertainment options, and a universe of information at our fingertips. Why then do so many individuals feel more adrift and despondent than ever before? The harsh reality is that the modern world relentlessly promotes a distorted and unattainable vision of happiness. We are constantly bombarded with idealized images of perfect lives, flawless physiques, and fairy tale relationships. The pervasive influence of social media has engendered a parallel reality where everyone appears perpetually happy, fulfilled, and successful. Everyone, that is, except for you. This relentless, inescapable comparison is a significant catalyst for depression. Sociologist Zygmunt Bauman coined the term liquid modernity to describe our current era. According to Bauman, we live in a society defined by transience, where everything, jobs, relationships, values, is fluid and unstable. Nothing is solid, nothing is guaranteed. We are perpetually chasing after something, but as soon as we attain it, a new, more elusive goal emerges on the horizon. There is no respite, no opportunity for genuine satisfaction, because the very system we inhabit thrives on our perpetual dissatisfaction. And what transpires when you find yourself unable to keep pace with this unrelenting demand? you inevitably experience a sense of failure, providing fertile ground for depression to take root. Furthermore, this sense of inadequacy is often compounded by a profound sense of isolation. You observe those around you seemingly navigating life with ease, while you feel trapped within the confines of your own mind. But the truth is that many others are also suffering in silence, simply concealing their pain behind carefully constructed facades. Moreover, our society actively fosters disconnection from ourselves. We are constantly distracted by our smartphones, consumed by work demands, and overwhelmed by the relentless demands of daily life. We rarely afford ourselves the time to genuinely feel, to reflect, to simply exist in the present moment. And when we finally do pause, what do we discover? A terrifying void. Carl Jung wisely observed that depression can be a profound call from the psyche, signaling a desperate need for transformation. But how can we possibly initiate transformation when we are trapped within a system that actively prevents us from even turning inward? The crucial first step is to recognize that this pervasive sense of disconnection is not merely an individual affliction. It is a symptom of a world that increasingly treats us as automatons rather than sentient human beings. But what if we considered a radical proposition? What if depression is not simply a problem to be eradicated? What if, rather than reflexively fleeing from it, we attempted to understand the message it holds? Is there a hidden, perhaps invaluable, insight concealed within this suffering? In the next section, we will explore the often overlooked dimension of depression, the dimension that society actively encourages us to ignore, but which may hold the key to breaking free from this cycle. What if I told you that depression is not merely a burdensome affliction to be eliminated, but rather a signal, a desperate plea from within, that something within you is yearning to be heard? We reside in a society that relentlessly encourages us to avoid suffering at all costs. If you experience sadness, immediately seek distraction. If you feel anxiety, reach for a pill. If something evokes pain, suppress it and pretend it doesn't exist. But what if that pain served a purpose? What if, instead of simply silencing depression, you endeavored to decipher its message? Jung believed that depression is not merely an illness, but a dynamic psychic process. He viewed it as a summons for profound transformation, an attempt by your mind to illuminate something you have been desperately avoiding. Consider this. You have likely been indoctrinated with the notion that happiness is the natural default state of human existence. But what if that very premise is a fallacy? What if discomfort, melancholy, and existential crises are in fact essential and integral components of the human growth process? Depression often arises when there is a fundamental disconnect between your authentic self and the life you are currently living. You may be diligently pursuing a path that has been prescribed to you, yet something deep within you senses a profound misalignment. And that something does not simply vanish. Rather, it accumulates in the unconscious, ultimately dragging you down and compelling you to confront the dissonance. Nietzsche famously stated, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." However, depression ruthlessly steals that why, relentlessly convincing you that there is no inherent meaning, that nothing holds any real value. But is this truly an endpoint, or is it instead an invitation to embark on a deeper, more meaningful exploration? Perhaps depression is not merely a manifestation of a chemical imbalance in the brain, but rather a symptom of a life that is fundamentally misaligned with your deepest values and authentic desires. Depression may be desperately attempting to show you that certain aspects of your life require immediate and profound change. Perhaps you are ensnared in a soul-crushing routine that is slowly eroding your spirit. Perhaps you are surrounded by individuals who consistently drain your energy and leave you feeling depleted. Perhaps you have invested so much energy in pleasing others that you have completely lost touch with your own identity. And then, as a final act of self-preservation, your mind simply compels you to turn inward, forcing you to confront the truth of what is amiss. But if depression possesses the potential to impart invaluable lessons, it inherently implies that there is a path toward healing, a way to begin extricating yourself from its grasp. Even when all hope seems lost, small, deliberate actions can ignite a chain reaction of positive change. And that is what we will address in the following segment: how seemingly insignificant actions can initiate a transformative cascade that can reshape your entire experience. When you are in the throes of depression, even the simplest, most mundane tasks can appear insurmountable. Rising from bed, brushing your teeth, replying to a simple text message. Everything demands an effort that you simply do not possess. And the more you disengage, the more profound the depression becomes. It is a cruel, self-perpetuating cycle. Depression paralyzes you, and that very paralysis deepens the depression. However, here is a fundamental truth that is often overlooked. You do not need to win this battle all at once. Small, almost imperceptible actions can set in motion a powerful domino effect, gradually restoring your sense of agency and control over your own life. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who miraculously survived the horrors of Nazi concentration camps, astutely observed that a human being can endure almost any form of suffering as long as they retain a sense of purpose. However, when we are trapped in the darkness of depression, we lose that crucial connection to our why. The world becomes devoid of meaning. Therefore, if pursuing a grand, overarching goal seems unattainable at this juncture, begin with the absolute minimum, something that can be accomplished in less than 5 minutes, something so utterly simple that your mind cannot concoct a persuasive excuse to avoid it. This could be as simple as rising from bed and drinking a glass of water. It could involve opening a window and taking a few deep breaths. It could be writing down a single sentence that encapsulates how you are feeling at that moment. Does this seem insignificant? Perhaps, but the underlying principle is that these small, deliberate gestures begin to transmit a new, empowering message to your brain. I still possess control over something. Depression relentlessly attempts to convince you that nothing you do will make a difference. But when you take that first step, no matter how small, you shatter that illusion. And one small step invariably leads to another. Walking for 5 minutes can evolve into a 10-minute walk. Writing a single sentence can blossom into a longer, more cathartic outpouring. And slowly, imperceptibly, you begin to move forward once more. Another essential element is to actively cultivate connection with something outside of your own mind. Depression traps you within the confines of your own thoughts, and those thoughts are often distorted, relentlessly negative, and self-destructive. Something as seemingly insignificant as caring for a plant, feeding a pet, or even engaging in a brief conversation with a stranger can serve as a bridge out of that pervasive mental isolation. However, there is a common pitfall that many individuals encounter when attempting to improve their situation. And this pitfall can inadvertently intensify the feelings of suffocation associated with depression. Frequently, in the pursuit of help or the endeavor to change, individuals end up feeling even more burdened by guilt for their perceived inability to immediately escape the darkness. In the next section, we will discuss this common trap and strategies for avoiding it. Seeking help when you are struggling with depression should theoretically be a straightforward process, right? However, in practice, many individuals find that taking that initial step only exacerbates their feelings of inadequacy and despair. This is due to a significant and pervasive misconception in the way that society views recovery from depression. The world often tells you, simply seek help, and everything will miraculously improve. But what happens when you dutifully follow that advice and yet continue to suffer? What happens when you take the prescribed medication, diligently attend therapy sessions, consciously attempt to modify your routine, and yet the depression persists? The most common and detrimental mistake that individuals make when trying to overcome depression is the belief that improvement should be rapid and linear, as though there were a readily accessible reset button that, once activated, would instantly restore you to your former state of well-being. But that is not how it works. Recovering from depression is a protracted and complex process, characterized by both progress and setbacks, periods of hope and moments of despair. And if you are unprepared for this inherent variability, you may find yourself feeling increasingly frustrated and disheartened, convinced that you are somehow failing, which, ironically, only serves to deepen the cycle of depression. The truth is that there is no one-size-fits-all approach to healing. What proves effective for one individual may be completely ineffective for another. Some individuals experience significant improvement through therapy, while others find relief through medication. Some find solace in spirituality, while others find it in physical exercise or artistic expression. The key is not to identify the perfect solution immediately, but rather to remain persistent in your efforts, experimenting with different approaches and adjusting your strategies as needed until you discover what resonates with you. Nietzsche famously stated, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." However, when you are grappling with depression, it can seem utterly impossible to reclaim that sense of purpose. This is precisely why the search for help can often be so frustrating, because you desperately yearn for immediate relief, and when that does not materialize, guilt sets in, along with the pervasive feeling that nothing will ever change. Another common and detrimental mistake is relying on individuals who lack a genuine understanding of the profound depths of depression. Have you ever been subjected to dismissive phrases like, "just exercise some willpower," or "there are people in far worse situations than you"? Comments of this nature are not only unhelpful, but also serve to intensify your feelings of isolation and invalidation. The reality is that not everyone possesses the emotional capacity or the nuanced understanding required to offer the necessary support. This underscores the importance of carefully selecting the individuals with whom you choose to share your pain. In some instances, a well-intentioned but misguided conversation with the wrong person can inflict more harm than good. However, Here is the most crucial takeaway. If you are actively seeking help and have yet to discover a strategy that effectively alleviates your suffering, it does not signify that there is no way out. It simply indicates that you have not yet identified the approach that is right for you. Recovery is not a sudden, instantaneous event. It is a gradual, incremental process, often unfolding imperceptibly over time. And then, when you least expect it, you realize that you are enduring a little more, that the weight has become a little lighter. And that is precisely why the concluding segment of this exploration is so vital. Depression relentlessly attempts to convince you that it is an intrinsic part of who you are, that it defines your very essence, that you have always been this way and will remain this way indefinitely. But that is a lie. You are not your depression. In the next segment, we will delve into how to reclaim this truth and seize control of your own narrative. If there is one thing that depression excels at above all else, it is convincing you that it is an inseparable part of you, that it constitutes your very identity, your natural state, that you have always been this way and will always remain this way. But that is a deception. Have you noticed how your mind constructs narratives about who you are? If you have spent an extended period trapped within the clutches of depression, it may have gradually become the dominant filter through which you perceive everything, including yourself. You might begin to believe that you have always been sad, always been weak, always inherently flawed. But pause and try to remember. There was a time, however distant and obscured by the fog of depression, when you did not feel this way. And if there was a time before depression took hold, it means that it is not your fundamental self. Depression is akin to a dense, oppressive cloud that obscures the sky. It shrouds the light, creating the illusion that the sun has vanished forever. But the sun does not truly disappear. It remains steadfastly present behind the clouds, patiently awaiting the opportune moment to re-emerge. And the fundamental truth is this: you are still here. There remains something within you that yearns to continue, something that, even in the face of profound darkness, compelled you to watch this video to its conclusion. That is not insignificant. It signifies that, however faint, there is still a part of you that has not surrendered, and it is to that unwavering part that you must cling with all your strength. Depression does not define who you are. It is not your predetermined destination. It can be a phase, a challenging process, a catalyst for profound change, but it is not your identity. You are infinitely more than the distorted pronouncements of your mind when you are at your lowest ebb. Perhaps everything still appears shrouded in darkness. Perhaps the oppressive weight continues to bear down upon you. But now, you are aware that there are pathways to healing, small, deliberate steps that can disrupt this destructive cycle. Now you understand that you are not required to vanquish depression all at once. You simply need to keep moving forward, however slowly and cautiously, and most importantly, to remember that you are not alone in this journey. If this exploration resonated with you, if something within it touched upon your own experience, I want to know. Leave a comment, even if it simply reads, "I understand," so that others may see it and realize that they are not isolated in their struggle. And if this exploration has helped you in any way, I encourage you to watch the next video. It is equally crucial that you continue to deepen your understanding of yourself and to persevere on this path toward recovery. I will see you there. So, to bring it all together, The core message we've explored is this: depression is not a defining characteristic, but a complex experience, often rooted in a disconnect between our authentic selves and the world around us. It's a signal, a call to deeper understanding and ultimately to change. Remember, you are not alone, and recovery is a journey, not a destination. It's about those small steps, reclaiming your narrative and recognizing the power within you to reshape your reality. We've even touched on the importance of understanding how our brains work, how neuroscience content can offer clues to navigating those darker times, and how mental health tools might help. I truly hope this exploration has offered some comfort, some clarity, or perhaps just a renewed sense of hope. If anything resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it. Leave a comment below, share your thoughts, ask a question, or just join the discussion. Connecting with each other is a powerful step in itself. In fact, many have said that understanding trauma recovery science gave them the cognitive clarity and resilience they needed. And if you found this video helpful and you're interested in exploring more content on mental well-being, personal growth, and practical mental health tools for navigating this complex modern world, consider subscribing. We'll be diving deeper into topics like emotional intelligence, conscious living, and ways to cultivate a productivity mindset that serves your well-being. So hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching.